Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a viral video commentary that makes a pretty provocative claim that one single moment on TV actually exposed a surprising ideological link between Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump, and in doing so, revealed the true nature of populism. So the whole thing we're looking at today kicks off with this really bold statement. It frames a conversation between Senator Sanders and Jon Stewart not just as some political debate, but as this huge moment of ideological crisis for socialism itself. Okay, so the video basically builds its case around 5 key ideas. We're going to walk through each one to see how they connect the dots. So, first up is this idea of a political paradox. The source claims that this one conversation with Jon Stewart somehow proved Donald Trump's policies were actually closer to Bernie's original populist message than what the Democrats are pushing today. I mean, that's a huge claim, right? Let's see how they try to back it up. Okay, so how do they start making this case? Well, they point to what they describe as a pretty major ideological shift from Senator Sanders himself over the last 10 years or so. So check this out. They pull up this quote from about a decade ago where Sanders is talking about open borders, and he's not for it. In fact, he calls it a right-wing Koch brothers idea designed to basically erase the United States as a nation-state. And this is where the source really drops a bomb. The narrator argues that the political world has shifted so much that what Sanders believed back then, on things like borders and trade tariffs, would get him labeled far-right MAGA today. Think about that for a second. So yeah, that begs the question, right? According to the source, what on earth changed? If his old ideas are now considered right-wing, how did we get here? And all of this is leading up to what is probably the most shocking claim in the whole video, that Donald Trump, ended up being the real heir to the Bernie Sanders revolution. And where they get this idea? Well, a lot of it hangs on this quote from Jon Stewart. He's the one who suggests that Trump actually started embracing the kind of populist, government interventionist policies Bernie had been talking about for years, right as the Democratic Party seemed to be backing away from them. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Look at how the source breaks down left-wing versus right-wing populism. It says their methods are total opposites. Robin Hood stealing from the rich versus helping people help themselves. But, and this is the key part, they both supposedly start from the same place, the belief that government should be helping people, not just itself. Okay, so that shared belief that government should help is exactly what leads us to the video's big economic argument. It uses that Sanders-Stewart chat to make the case that even when the government tries to help, especially without strict cost controls, it can end up making things a whole lot worse. And this slide really lays out their whole argument about inflation. Here's how they say it works. Step 1, the government promises to help pay for stuff, like college tuition or healthcare, with subsidies. But, and this is step 2, they don't put any caps on how much the private companies can charge. So what happens? Step 3, prices just go through the roof, way faster than normal inflation. The very things they were trying to make cheaper end up costing even more. And it all boils down to one word, according to the video: scarcity. The entire argument for socialism, they claim, falls apart because of this simple fact. There's only so much stuff to go around, right? A limited number of doctors, limited resources, limited money. The video argues that this basic economic reality makes the whole idea of a socialist utopia where everyone gets free, amazing services literally impossible. All right, so in the final section, the source pulls all of these threads together into one big theory, and it's all about what it calls the political establishment, or the swamp. So here's the theory. The argument is that the swamp isn't really about Democrats versus Republicans. No, the source paints it as this self-serving ruling class with people from both sides of the aisle. And their main goal? Just to protect the system that makes them and their donors rich and to crush any real outsider who tries to mess with it. And according to the video, this theory explains everything. It's why they say the establishment sabotaged Bernie back in 2016. It's why there's this, quote, institutional mandate to go after Trump. The whole idea is that the fight isn't about policy. It's about stopping any populist from shaking up their very profitable system.
And his quote really says it all. It's the video's final takeaway. The reason they're so against Trump, the source argues, has nothing to do with his policies. It's because he's an outsider, threatening to expose or even break their massive scheme.
So after walking through all of that, what are we left with? The source gives us a really clear, really powerful story. It's the populist outsiders versus a corrupt system. And that's a compelling way to look at politics, for sure. But, it's always worth asking, is that really the whole story? Or are there other things going on here?